Premier Hailemariam stresses on generating power from renewable sources for all-round development. Chad launched an awareness campaign on fistula. Those were the headlines on ETV. Hello and welcome. I am Rigbe Hans. President Girma Walde-Giorgis stressed on the need to augment the age-long ties of Ethiopia and South Korea. The president had talks with a South Korean delegation that came to Ethiopia. Girma told the delegation that Ethiopia works to bolster socio-economic partnership of the two countries. The South Korean delegation expressed its government's will to support ongoing development trends in Ethiopia. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister Demek Mekonnen holds talks with the South Korean delegation in his office on Tuesday. Demek said that Ethiopia is bringing change by taking lessons from countries like South Korea. The president vowed that his country will jointly work with South Korea in many spheres of development. Mentioning that Ethiopia is a true friend of South Korea, head of the delegation Kim Kwan-yang said South Korea is working in Ethiopia by opening many institutions. Members of the delegation also said that they would work to ensure a public diplomacy and promote education and healthcare services in rural parts of Ethiopia. Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn argues that generating power from renewable energy sources is the best option for all-round development. He said least developed countries should design the right policies and strategies to benefit from alternative sources. Hailemariam was speaking in New York at the UN General Assembly. Abata Hailu presents the story compiled by Rahel Taklehans.
To be recorded that the United Nations General Assembly declared the year 2012 to be International Year of Sustainable Energy for All. The initiative supports the Istanbul Programme of Action Plan, which was launched by least developed countries 2 years back for at least half of the 48 LDCs to become middle-income countries by the year 2020. One of the challenges of those countries is ensuring sustainable energy alternative. The meeting held in New York among LDCs and developed countries has proposed the issue to be included in the post-2015 agenda. Speaking at the event, Ethiopian Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn said generating power from renewable energy sources would be the best option for all-round benefits. Cognizant of that, Ethiopia has designed policies and strategies to benefit from the alternatives, the Premier said.
Along with our efforts to sustain high growth trajectory, we are now implementing our climate resilient and green economic strategy with the aim of becoming a carbon neutral middle income country by 2025. To achieve this lofty objective and to sustain our hand-fought development gains by enhancing our productive capacity, we are convinced that we need to make effective use of our energy resources in a timely and sustainable manner.
The country is also taking measures to satisfy the ever-growing energy demand as a result of the fast economic growth being registered. Hailemariam explained to the gathering that the ongoing construction of Renaissance hydropower dam would address the energy gap not only in Ethiopia but also in neighboring countries as well. The Premier called for support from developed partners for LDCs to achieve their objectives of ensuring sustainable energy.
It is paramount that developed countries and other stakeholders provide enhanced financial and technical support to the least developed countries to enable them to scale up and improve efficiency in generation, transmission and distribution, and the sustainable use of energy resources with the aim of ensuring access to energy for all by 2013.
The 68th UN General Assembly General Debate has been opened on Tuesday in New York. Leaders of different countries have delivered their speeches at the Assembly, including UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, US President Barack Obama, and Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff. Ban Ki-moon, while opening the Assembly, said driving the world forward is the main aim of the UN and the current generation has the capacity to do so. Brazilian President Dilma Rousseff condemned the recent terrorist attack in Kenya and said all world leaders should exert commitment to tackle terrorism. US President Barack Obama called on nations to bring about peaceful resolution for the Syrian civil war. Many leaders are expected to speak at the General Assembly. Ethiopian Prime Minister Hailemaryam Desalegn will make a speech on Wednesday afternoon. Ministers of IGAD member states and the East African Community in New York held talks on the recent deadly terrorist attack in Nairobi. Ministers from Burundi, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Sudan, South Sudan and Uganda took part in the discussion. In a communique they issued, the ministers condemned the terrorist attack, which claimed the lives of innocent civilians, and vowed to support all efforts to bring the perpetrators to justice. It also proposed for regional security chiefs to meet as soon as possible and find ways of coordination to fight the act. Ethiopian Ministry of Industry urged pharmaceutical companies to maximize their commitment to produce quality medicines in the country. The Ministry of Industry, in collaboration with Science and Technology Ministry and the German government, has established infrastructure development strategy which is related with the sector. Ethiopian Industry State Minister Dr. Mebrahtu Mellese said that the new strategy will help companies produce quality medicine to both domestic and foreign markets. You're watching the news on ETV. African youth called upon leaders of the continent to undertake activities that benefit the people and youth of the continent. Regional Youth Conference that aims to find inputs for sustainable development of the continent is underway in Addis Ababa. At the opening of the conference, participants stated that Africa leaders need to do more to speed up the growth of the continent in areas like poverty reduction, education accessibility, and prevention of HIV and AIDS, among others. Best practices from around the continent will be presented to the youth in the course of the meeting, expected to last for 4 days. AMISOM's Burundi troops in Baidoa, southern Somalia, have begun daily foot patrols around the town as a way to build confidence and deterring elements of the militant group Al-Shabaab from launching attacks on residents. Baidoa is an important business route for goods transported from Mogadishu to other parts of the region. Ethiopian and Somali troops seized the strategic city of Baidoa last year, but the militants who lost their positions threatened to avenge the loss with fire and explosions. Over 100 AMISOM peacekeepers carried out the surprise foot patrol within Baidoa together with Somali forces in a bid to strengthen security in the town. Authorities in Chad launch an awareness campaign on fistula, a condition that causes urinal and fecal incontinence. Fistula affects 2 million women around the world, mostly in Africa, according to the World Health Organization. Francis Riddle has more.
Chad recently launched a campaign to eradicate fistula in the country, a condition that affects more than 2 million women around the world, most of whom live in Africa. With more than 400 new cases of fistula per year reported in Chad, the government opened a national centre for reproductive health and treatment of fistula in 2011. The centre is dedicated to treating fistula, while at the same time offers patients awareness and psychological support. 20-year-old Hawa Muhammad is recovering in her hospital bed after undergoing surgery for fistula. Like thousands of women in Chad, Muhammad got married at the age of 12 and fell pregnant a year later. I went to several hospitals. and I have had many operations, but without success. It's my uncle who advised me to come to this hospital. Thanks God today, I am much better. They just operated on me twice. It has been 6 days, and I feel fine. A survey of 9 African countries by the UN Population Fund in 2003 found that most fistula patients were poor, uneducated teenagers who developed fistula after giving birth to their first child. Girls aged between 15 and 19 are twice more likely to die in pregnancy or childbirth than women aged 20 to 24, according to the United Nations. About 70% of women living with fistula never seek treatment because they don't know what is wrong with them and often face stigma and rejection. But surgeons at this hospital hope that with increased awareness, more women will come forward to seek treatment. Chad's health minister, Ahmad Jida, said despite challenges, authorities are committed to eradicating the condition by investing in medical training for healthcare providers.
Our objective here at the Ministry of Health is first and foremost to treat all the patients who already have fistula and find out if they can recover, because unfortunately there are cases that are too severe and cannot be treated. But at the same time, we are also working towards reducing cases of fistula in the long term.
Increased discussion to improve prevention, treatment and social reintegration of women suffering from fistula is growing in Chad.
The number of HIV infections and AIDS-related diseases has fallen dramatically. That's according to UNAIDS. The report shows that death rates fell from 2.3 million during its peak in 2005 to 1.6 million last year. Fall in death and infection rates in children have been the result of better access to antiretroviral drugs, which help suppress the virus. According to UNAIDS, the improved access is being attributed to drugs being more affordable and available in communities, as well as more people coming forward for help. The World Health Organization has now revised its guidelines, making even more people eligible for treatment. BBC reported that the world is closing in on its Millennium Development Goals to stop and reverse the AIDS epidemic by 2015. And that brings us to the end of the news. Thank you for staying with us and have a good day.